into Gabby Williams, got hit in the forehead, and it caused 2 black eyes. And you can still see some of the remnants of them, and now she's sporting the bloody lip. She is as tough as they come.
Look, tough.
Lexie Hull stepped onto the court against the Chicago Sky sporting 2 black eyes, and by the final buzzer, she was rocking a busted lip too. Yet somehow, she still delivered one of the grittiest, most determined performances of her entire career. And here's the kicker. What she shared with reporters after the game is what really has every fan buzzing right now. Indiana didn't just beat Chicago, they dominated them through pure grit, proving they're not just quietly slipping into the playoffs. They're reshaping their entire identity right before our eyes. Think that's impressive? Just wait until you hear what Lexie Hull had to say afterward. Her words might go down as the defining quote of the Fever's playoff run. If you're hyped for Indiana, drop a "fired up for the Fever" in the comments, because this win was different.
That's a W. Made it out. All we gotta do is keep making it out. Woo! Dubs!
How do you keep winning when your superstar is out and half your roster is barely holding together? That was the cloud hanging over Indiana the second Caitlin Clark made it official. Her season was over. She broke the news just days before the regular season wrapped up, telling fans, "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season." Clark had been battling a stubborn groin injury since mid-July, one that refused to heal the way she or the medical staff had hoped. For weeks, fans clung to the dream of a dramatic late-season comeback, but when the announcement hit, the air was sucked out of the room. Overnight, Indiana's entire playoff strategy had to be rewritten, forcing the team to adjust, regroup, and find a new way forward without their biggest star.
Caitlin Clark released a statement saying this: "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I am so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoffs."
It wasn't just Clark. The Fever have felt cursed all season, and their injury report only drove that point home. Sophie Cunningham was ruled out for the year. Sydney Carlson went down with a torn ACL. Chloe BBY couldn't shake her lingering knee issues, and Ari McDonald was sidelined with a broken foot. That's practically an entire rotation wiped off the board. Picture trying to gear up for the final stretch of the regular season with your franchise player, your enforcer, your backup point guard, a key forward, and a steady veteran leader all gone at once. Instead of polishing lineups and building chemistry, the coaching staff was left scrambling, shuffling rotations like a deck of cards before every single game just to keep the team competitive.
At the end of the day, she's been working her butt off to be able to get back, and we've kind of run out of time to be able to do it in a safe way, in a safe manner. And I think we've all been very open and upfront with her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing. To be in a position that you need to be in to play at this time of the year, we just ran out of time to get her there.
Head coach Stephanie White didn't sugarcoat how difficult the situation was. She admitted bluntly, "It's frustrating, all the injuries that she's had," speaking about Clark's battle this summer. White explained that the groin injury simply ran out of calendar time. "We ran out of time to be able to do it in a safe way, in a safe manner," she said, emphasizing that Clark's long-term health mattered far more than rushing her back for a short-term boost. General Manager Amber Cox backed her up, reminding everyone that the organization's priority had to be protecting Clark's career, not gambling everything on 1 or 2 late-season wins. That call left Indiana's depth chart shredded. Take away Clark and McDonald's playmaking, Cunningham's grit, Carlson's veteran presence, and BB's floor spacing, and you're left with a roster that has zero margin for error. Every single possession carried extra weight. Every substitution felt like a chess move that could swing the game. And yet, Caitlin Clark never once looked like a player mentally checked out. She was on her feet celebrating every big play, jumping into huddles, handing out high fives, and staying locked in from the opening tip to the final buzzer. Even sitting on the bench, the cameras found her, eyes sharp, voice cutting through the noise, still leading. For Fever fans, her presence was a reminder that leadership isn't just about points on the board. It was electric, even with her sneakers never touching the hardwood.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, number one, just all the injuries that she's had. Obviously, I wouldn't speak for her, but and the amount of work that she's put in to position herself to be able to play and then to, have to ultimately make this decision. There's disappointment. There's the obvious frustration that's come with not being healthy really for an entire season. But ultimately, I think the big picture is the most important thing, and those are conversations that we've continued to have. And the message has continued to be that it's not her long-term health and wellness and her being 100% when she's ready to go is the most important thing.
That presence mattered more than ever because the playoff race was absolutely unforgiving. Heading into the week, the Fever were barely hanging onto 8th place, clinging to a slim lead over the Los Angeles Sparks. One slip-up, one bad game, and they risked falling completely out of contention. Survival became the mission. Could this patched-together roster stay steady long enough to lock in another postseason berth? Could they cover for their missing superstar without letting doubt creep in and shake their confidence? At that point, it felt less like X's and O's and more like a gut check, a pure test of will. The lead up to the Chicago matchup carried the weight of a must-win, and the pressure was relentless. There was nothing pretty about it. No glitz, no glamour, just grit, focus, and execution. Indiana had to prove they could respond, that they could handle the heat of the moment. And when the ball tipped, that pressure cooker became the very spark they needed. It turned into their launch pad, igniting the fiery, statement-making performance that blew the Chicago sky off the court.
If a newcomer in Bree Hall plays tonight, Boston on a kick out. Mitchell, oh, she's hot to start. Mitchell finds Dantas, who rolls and lays it in.
What does 97-77 really tell you when you look beyond the numbers? It's more than a simple box score, more than a casual 20-point win on paper. If you've been following this rivalry, you know this game carried a much bigger message. Indiana didn't just sneak past Chicago, they dominated them, again. This was their 5th straight win over the Sky this season, each won by an average of 24 points. That's not competition. That's complete control, the kind that almost feels personal. For Chicago, it's bordering on humiliation, a glaring reminder of how far apart these two teams are right now. You'd expect a team flexing that level of dominance to be sitting pretty in the standings, but that wasn't Indiana's reality. Coming into this matchup, they were clinging to 8th place, just one game ahead of the Los Angeles Sparks, walking a tightrope with no safety net. One slip in this moment, and they could have easily fallen into dangerous territory, making every remaining game a desperate chase. Instead, they took that pressure, that uncertainty, and turned it into their fuel. The result? Their most commanding, locked-in performance of the season, delivered at the exact moment they needed it most.
Mitchell, will she add to it? Whips it back for Dantas. Kelsey Mitchell putting on a show here in Indy.
Look at the spin on the ball. Just one dribble over the head pass.
Mitchell's been brilliant on a kick out to Howard. Mitchell bouncing. Howard, the left hand.
And then getting a stop on the defensive end. I know Coach Stephanie White is happy with her team with that.
Mitchell being hounded by Atkins, trying to shake her. Mitchell bounces inside, and Howard gets the roll.
Kelsey Mitchell once again took the wheel and led the charge, just like she's been doing all season. She dropped 20 points and dished out 8 assists, running the offense with poise and precision. But this game was about more than just filling up the stat sheet. It was about showing that she could strike the perfect balance between being a scorer and a floor general. Mitchell wasn't out there hunting shots for herself. She was orchestrating the game, creating looks for her teammates, and then stepping up to get buckets whenever the Fever needed a momentum boost. It was the kind of performance that reminded everyone why she's the heartbeat of this team. Calm under pressure, but deadly when it's time to take over.
Here in the first half. Oh, it's Howard finding Sims, who finishes tight quarters. Howard backing in on Williams. Little shake and bake. And the fadeaway.
Right on her heels was Natasha Howard, who turned in a monster two-way performance with 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 steals. She gave Indiana exactly what they needed on both ends of the floor: a steady, physical presence in the paint, and the kind of disruptive defense that completely wrecks an opponent's rhythm. Howard wasn't just scoring, she was setting the tone. Every bucket in the post was a statement, and every steal felt like a dagger that swung momentum Indiana's way. Her energy was contagious, fueling the Fever's attack and making sure Chicago never found their footing.
7 of them came in the second quarter. Indiana's just been able to hold Chicago at an arm's length here tonight, and Natasha Howard putting together one of her best games of the season.
Missing that little bunny, just the possession before, comes up through the contact, goes straight to her chest. Not a...
Sims finds some space and can't get the roll. Howard charging, tips it, comes down with it, and flips it home.
And the production didn't stop there. Indiana got double-digit scoring from 3 more players, proving just how balanced and dangerous their offense really was. Odyssey Sims brought instant energy off the bench, giving them that quick-hitting guard play and another reliable ball handler to keep the backcourt rotation flowing smoothly. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston stayed rock-solid in the paint, delivering her usual steady presence down low. She looked completely at ease, taking on extra responsibility, embracing the spotlight, and thriving even without Caitlin Clark drawing the defense's attention. Together, they turned Indiana's attack into a well-oiled machine, making it nearly impossible for Chicago to key in on just one player.
In a way.
She is the team's leading scorer with Angel Reese not available. Oh, lob it inside. Boston spins and finishes. So far in the second half, it's been one step forward, one step back for the Sky. Boston turns the corner on Cardoso, banks it home, and a foul.
Aerial Powers came in and delivered exactly what Indiana needed: high-energy minutes and timely scoring that kept the Sky completely on their heels. Every drive, every bucket, every hustle play felt like it tilted the momentum further in Indiana's favor. What made her impact even bigger was the timing. With the roster already stretched thin by injuries, Powers' contribution wasn't just a nice bonus, it was a statement. This game wasn't some fluke blowout. It was proof that Indiana's depth runs deeper than people think, and that even with key players missing, they can still throw punches and dominate when it matters most.
Good hands there by Williams. Petty, Powers, through traffic and is able to finish. Powers going behind the back on Banham, muscles her way to the rim, draws the foul, and flips it home, and one Powers.
The stat that really tells the story: 27 assists against just 9 turnovers. That's efficiency at its absolute peak. And it's even more impressive when you consider that Indiana has been forced to shuffle lineups almost every single game. This wasn't a team selfishly hunting shots. This was a group moving the ball, trusting one another, and making defenses pay every time they made a mistake. Chicago simply had no answer. Possession after possession, the Fever turned good looks into great ones, stretching the Sky until the game was effectively over long before the final buzzer sounded. And here's why this win mattered beyond just padding the win column. It put Indiana firmly in control of their own playoff destiny. Sweeping Chicago meant clearing one major obstacle out of the way, and this victory all but secured their playoff berth. With results from Seattle and Golden State falling perfectly in line, Indiana suddenly had a real shot at climbing all the way to the 6th seed. That's not luck, that's momentum, and it's coming at exactly the right time.
Watching these players.
Here's Michaela Timpson checking in for her first minutes and banking it home.
So yes, Indiana won by 20. But when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it meant so much more than a routine blowout. This was about the sweep, the playoff positioning, and the way every single player contributed. The Fever didn't just beat the Sky, they dismantled them in every category, sending a message that their identity is no longer tied to just one superstar. It's built on grit, resilience, and execution from top to bottom. And at the heart of that identity was one performance that defined the night. Lexie Hull may not have been the leading scorer, but she became the story everyone left talking about. Her performance wasn't just tough, it was unforgettable. What's harder, playing through 2 black eyes and a busted lip, or stepping up after the game and delivering the quote that had Fever fans hanging on every word like it was gospel? That's where Lexie Hull stole the spotlight. She came into the game still wearing the marks of a brutal collision with Gabby Williams a week earlier, both eyes blackened like battle scars. She didn't cover them up, didn't shy away, she wore them into the fight. And then, as if fate wanted to test her again, Camila Cardoso caught her across the mouth in the second half, leaving her with a split lip. But Hull didn't flinch. Blood, bruises, and pain weren't enough to get her off that floor. She stayed in, kept battling, and turned the night into a living definition of toughness.
Powers bouncing. Hull. Oh, had it denied at the rim. Hull looked home free, and I think
that refusal to sit down said more about who Lexie Hull is than any box score ever could. When your roster has been gutted by injuries, when Caitlin Clark is standing on the sidelines in street clothes, and when Sophie Cunningham, Chloe BBY, and Ari McDonald can't even get through warm-ups, you don't survive without toughness. Hull embodied that message. She didn't look for excuses, didn't ask for sympathy. She laced up her sneakers and went right back into the fight. Every minute she played was a statement about what this Indiana team has become. A group that punches back, plays through pain, and refuses to back down no matter the circumstances. Her performance wasn't just gritty. It was the living, breathing heartbeat of the Fever's identity.
This guy, they just got to get into their sets a little bit quicker.
Here's Hull off the Boston screen. She hits. And Indiana is...
I love the way that she's been able to elevate her game.
The youngsters out of South Carolina, who both are having strong seasons, as Indiana has opened up 3 for 3 with Lexie Hull.
And the wildest part? All of this is happening during the best season of her career. Lexie Hull isn't just a role player filling minutes. She's producing everywhere you look. Points, rebounds, steals, assists. She's posting career highs across the board. She's already shattered her personal best from beyond the arc, draining over 50 threes this season and proving she's a legitimate threat from deep. That's not a hot streak. That's growth. The kind of leap forward that every franchise hopes to see from a young player. And she's doing it at the exact moment Indiana needs more than just stats. They need a leader, someone who embodies the fight, someone who can set the tone. Hull is stepping into that role perfectly, carrying far more than just numbers. She's carrying the team's identity.
3 points here tonight at 14 minutes off the bench. Turner gets inside, kick out. Hull who buries a 3.
Her teammates and coaches see it just as clearly. Head coach Stephanie White didn't mince words. She said outright that Lexie Hull epitomizes what the Fever want to be: resilient, fearless, relentless. And a statement like that isn't handed out casually. It's something you earn by playing through pain, diving headfirst into defensive possessions, and refusing to let games slip away. Ask anyone in that locker room, and they'll tell you the same thing. Hull sets the tone. And it's not just a one-night performance. It's the consistency, the way she brings that fire every single game that keeps Indiana's defense intact. Because yes, her shooting has taken a leap forward, but her defense? That's the glue that holds everything together. With the roster shorthanded, Indiana needed someone willing to harass Chicago's guards on the perimeter, disrupt their rhythm, and throw off their entire offensive flow. Hull delivered exactly that. She was up in their faces every trip down the floor, contesting shots, taking elbows and hits to the body, and never once backing away. When you look at the defensive metrics and see how much better Indiana is with her on the floor, it makes perfect sense. She's the one bothering scorers, communicating through every switch, and refusing to take a single possession off.
Steph mentioned, whenever she sees you with the 2 black eyes, she smiles in a way because it just exemplifies your toughness. Just, do you feel tough in these kinds of situations with these 2 black eyes?
I mean, that's what people keep telling me. Every time she sees me, she smiles and then she says, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, you don't need to be sorry. This is what it is. And when I'm playing, like, I forget about it, and then I go and look at the mirror. I'm like, oh shit, he's still there. So yeah, I don't really think too much about it because I don't necessarily feel them all the time.
Yeah, and you're still able to see completely fine.
Yep.
All right.
Nothing's changed.
All right, perfect. I think.
And then came the moment that tied the whole night together. After the game, reporters asked Hull about those 2 black eyes. She just smiled through the bruises and said that every day they fight for their injured teammates. A simple line that perfectly captured the Fever's warrior spirit. It was her way of saying, we play for each other, healthy or not. Every bruise, every scar is proof of that fight. That single moment turned Lexie Hull into the living, breathing symbol of what Indiana basketball stands for right now. She isn't just having the best season of her career. She's carrying the story of a team that's rebuilt its identity from the ground up. And what makes it even more striking is the contrast. As Indiana has been forging a culture built on resilience, sacrifice, and togetherness, their opponent on the other side, the Chicago Sky, has been unraveling in front of everyone's eyes.
The resilient, nature of our team. I think one other thing that sometimes goes missed is just the character of these women, right? Especially this group that's been here, that's gone through all of this, and then the ones that we've brought in with O and Che and AP. I mean, these are women who care about winning. These are women who care about one another. These are women who sacrifice every single day.
What does it really say about a team when they're missing 5 key players and still manage to control their own playoff destiny? That's exactly the question Indiana answered in their showdown with Chicago. The math was simple. Before tip-off, the Fever were hanging on to 8th place by a single game over Los Angeles, barely keeping their playoff hopes alive. Then came the blowout. Indiana dominated. The Sparks dropped their game to Atlanta, and just like that, the Fever leapt into 7th place, not just surviving, but making a statement. This one wasn't about clinging to the bottom of the bracket anymore. It was about flipping the narrative, seizing momentum, and suddenly putting 6th place within reach if the results keep breaking their way. Indiana didn't just stay alive. They planted their flag and showed they're ready to climb.
Fever have beaten the Sky by 12,000 points in their 5 games this season. I'm not perfectly sure on that number, but it seems correct, as they smack the Chicago Sky yet again. Basically, they've already been in a good playoff position, but cement a hold on a playoff spot.
The significance of this moment can't be overstated. Sweeping Chicago wasn't just about bragging rights. It was historic. That 5-game season sweep now holds the record for the largest point differential between 2 teams in league history. But more importantly, it cleared the path forward. This victory officially locked Indiana into the postseason for the 2nd year in a row. Think about that for a second. A franchise that spent nearly a decade stuck at the bottom of the standings is now staring at back-to-back playoff appearances, and they're doing it without Caitlin Clark on the floor. That's not just progress, that's a culture shift. And the timing couldn't be better. Other teams are starting to stumble. Seattle dropping critical games. Golden State facing a brutal closing schedule, which means the door is opening for Indiana to climb even higher. The Fever didn't need outside help to get here, but they're not about to turn it down. In a race where every margin matters, every break is golden, and Indiana is taking full advantage.
Kelsey Mitchell, brilliant once again. Lexie Hull playing through a busted lip after she's played through black eyes, which came from the knot on her forehead, which, is sort of exemplifies the Fever season, the way they fought through things. You got all players on crutches and carts before the game. Caitlin Clark, unfortunately, ruled out for the season. It makes you think what could have been, but what is a smacking for the Sky whenever they face them, and a playoff spot almost assured for the Indiana Fever.
And credit where it's due, Stephanie White saw this coming long before anyone else did. Since July, her message to the team has been crystal clear: every single game is a playoff game. That mindset forged this group under pressure. They stopped worrying about the calendar or the standings and instead approached every night with postseason urgency. Now, That mentality is paying off. This playoff berth isn't just about punching a ticket into the bracket. It's validation that this roster is more than a one-player show. They've built something sustainable: toughness, balance, and trust. That foundation has solidified into a true team identity, one that can hold its ground even without its brightest star on the court. And here's where it gets exciting. Imagine adding a healthy Caitlin Clark back into this version of the Fever. What feels like resilience right now could very well be just the opening chapter of a much bigger story, the start of Indiana's rise as a true contender.
Get the brooms out! Get the brooms out! I got my dustpan handy. We sweeping up the Chicago sky. They are toast. They are done. We gonna hold on to our broom for this entire blog. Listen, the Indiana Fever just absolutely smoked the Chicago Sky. What a win. What a win.
Indiana didn't just clinch playoff control with their 97-77 win. They completely reshaped what this team represents. This wasn't about one superstar dragging everyone across the finish line. It was about grit, depth, and a roster that refused to back down, even with 5 contributors sidelined. Sweeping Chicago by an average margin of 24 points wasn't a fluke. It was a statement that Indiana's identity is built on resilience, on fighting through adversity, and on doing it together. And let's be honest, that win was even sweeter knowing Angel Ree wasn't on the floor, serving her suspension after racking up her 8th technical foul. If Indiana can dominate with a patched-together lineup and still laugh at Chicago's chaos, just imagine what this team becomes once Caitlin Clark steps back into the lineup and adds her firepower to an already battle-tested core. So here's the challenge. If you're fired up for the Fever, drop a fired up in the comments right now. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment of this playoff push. Share this video with a fellow Fever fan and get the hype going, because this might just be the start of something special. Click the video on your screen to keep riding this momentum, and we'll see you in the next one.